The hammer slipped out of my hand the second Leah Bennett said my name. I was standing on a ladder inside Mara Sullivan's sunroom, replacing a ceiling speaker while both women sat on the patio just beyond the open French doors. I had a pair of black hearing protectors over my ears because I had been drilling into an oak beam. The drill was off, but they didn't know that. To them, I was sealed inside my own little world. Mara lowered her voice anyway. Then tell him before Monday. Leah gave a humorless laugh. Tell Ethan what? That I've secretly loved him since I was 17? He's had half his life to notice. The hammer hit the floor with a crack. Both women looked toward me. I bent down too fast, nearly falling off the ladder, and pretended the noise had startled me through the ear protection. Mara watched me for a long moment. Leah looked away first. I had known those two since we were kids crawling through gaps in the fences between our 3 houses. Mara knew how I lied. Leah knew how I breathed when I was scared. Somehow, I still convinced myself they believed I had heard nothing. The problem was that I had loved Leah for almost as long as she had loved me. And in 12 days, Mara was getting married, Leah was leaving for Chicago, and I had already signed a contract that would take me 2,000 miles in the opposite direction. Before I tell you how 3 lifelong friends nearly lost everything by protecting one another from the truth, take a second to like and subscribe. And tell me in the comments, is silence ever an act of love? Or is it only fear wearing a kinder name? I climbed down from the ladder and picked up the hammer. Speakers fixed. Mara crossed her arms. She was 34, 5'3", and had been terrifying liars since 2nd grade. You sure? Test it. She tapped her phone. Music filled the room. Leah stepped inside behind her, carrying 3 glasses of iced tea as if she had not just rearranged my entire life with one sentence. Good job, Ethan, she said. There were 1,000 things I could have said. I heard you. Since 17? Why didn't you tell me? I love you too. Instead, I took the glass she offered and said, That's what you pay me for. Her fingers paused against mine. Right? Payment. The word landed harder than it should have. Mara's wedding venue had flooded, so the ceremony was moving to our 3 connected backyards. Leah, an architect, would design the layout. I would rebuild the gazebo and reinforce the old treehouse. Mara would command everyone and pretend she was not panicking. Our houses stood in a row on Briar Lane in Cedar Hollow, Virginia. We had solved every childhood crisis across those fences. That history was what made Leah's confession dangerous. As children, we used 3 knocks on the fence as a code. 3 knocks meant come outside. 3 knocks meant I need you. 3 knocks meant no questions until we were together. By high school, Mara was the loud one, Leah was the careful one, and I was the boy who thought being useful was the same as being brave. I had been wrong for years. Leah carried a roll of plans to the dining table. Her dark hair was twisted into a loose knot, and a pencil rested behind one ear. The guest tables go here. The aisle starts at my back gate, crosses Mara's yard, and ends under the oak. What about the treehouse? I asked. Mara smiled. Photo booth. That structure was built by 3 teenagers with stolen lumber and no understanding of gravity. 2 teenagers, Leah said. I understood gravity. You fell through the floor because you saw a spider and dropped your end of the board. Mara pointed between us. I need exactly that energy for the next 12 days, except productive. Leah unrolled the plans. A notification lit her phone. Daniel Reyes appeared on the screen, followed by a message preview. Chicago partnership paperwork ready. She turned the phone face down. Daniel was a senior architect at her firm. He took her to dinner, called late, and appeared in photographs close enough to look romantic. I had never asked what they were because asking would have exposed me. Monday, I said before I could stop myself. Leah's eyes lifted. What about Monday? Mara's gaze snapped toward me. I took a drink of tea. You said the city inspection was Monday. It's Tuesday, Mara said slowly. Then I remembered wrong. Leah studied me. You usually don't. I forced a shrug. I've got a lot on my mind. That was true. 2 days earlier, I had accepted a 6-month contract restoring a historic theater in Portland. It was the biggest job my company had ever been offered. I had not told Leah or Mara yet. I kept saying I was waiting until the wedding problem was solved, but the honest reason was uglier. I had accepted because leaving Cedar Hollow had always been easier than risking what I wanted here. The next morning, Leah met me in the treehouse wearing jeans, work boots, and one of my old college sweatshirts. I recognized it immediately. I had left it at her house the Christmas I was 22. "You still have that?" I asked. She looked down. "It's comfortable. It has my name inside the collar. Then you can sue me after the wedding." I should have told her then. The confession I had overheard was still burning behind my ribs. Instead, I handed her a tape measure. We pulled rotten boards and marked beams. Leah anticipated every tool I needed, and our hands kept meeting over the workbench. Each time, one of us moved away too quickly. Around noon, Mara climbed the ladder with sandwiches. "You two look like a divorced couple renovating a vacation home," she said. "We'd have to get married first," Leah replied. Mara nearly dropped the bag. I stared at Leah. Her cheeks turned pink, but she held my gaze. There it was, an opening so obvious that even I could not pretend I had missed it. "Marriage would destroy the business model," I said. "She'd redesign everything, and I'd refuse to follow the plans." Leah's expression changed by a fraction. "Of course, terrible idea." Mara kicked my boot. Hard. After she left, silence filled the treehouse. "You know," Leah said, driving a pencil mark across a beam, "sometimes people make jokes because they're trying to say something without making it dangerous." I could hear my own pulse. "Or they make jokes because Mara keeps trying to turn her wedding into a romantic disease," I said. Leah set down the pencil. "You really don't make anything easy." I almost told her I knew. Then Daniel called. His name flashed on her screen, and she stepped onto the small balcony to answer. Through the window, I heard only pieces. "Yes, I'm still considering it." "No, I haven't told him. I know Monday is the deadline." My stomach tightened. I assumed the him was me. I assumed the deadline was Chicago. I assumed the rest because assumptions had protected me from answers for years. When she came back inside, she said, "There's something I've been trying to tell you." My phone rang before she could continue. It was the Portland project manager. I should have declined the call. Instead, I answered because hiding inside work was a habit I had polished until it looked like responsibility. By the time I hung up, Leah was gone. That afternoon, Mara cornered me behind the garage. "You heard her yesterday." I kept loading lumber into my truck. "Heard who?" "Don't insult me. Your ears turn red when you lie." "It was hot. It was 68 degrees. I shoved the tailgate closed. "What do you want from me?" "For once, movement." "She said she loved me." Past tense. Mara stared as if I had claimed the moon was made of plywood. "She said she has loved you since she was 17. That doesn't mean she wants anything now." Then ask, "What about Daniel? What about him? What about Chicago? What about the fact that every time one of us tries to change this friendship, something breaks?" Mara's anger softened. "You mean Owen." The name of my older brother still had the power to drain sound from the world. 15 years earlier, Owen had died driving Leah home from a party after I angrily refused. I believed my pride had killed my brother. Leah carried her own guilt, and neither of us knew how to speak without reopening the night. Mara leaned against my truck. "Ethan, you don't protect people by making choices for them." "I'm not making a choice for her." "You are. You're deciding she'd rather lose you than risk having you." I looked toward Leah's house. Through the kitchen window, I could see her moving between counters, alone. Mara reached into her jacket pocket and pulled out a small rusted key. "Tomorrow," she said, placing it in my palm, "open the tin box under the treehouse floor." "What's in it?" "Something Leah asked me to destroy 14 years ago." I closed my fingers around the key. Mara walked away before I could ask another question. Before sunrise, I found the tin beneath a loose floorboard. Inside were ticket stubs, photographs, and a picture of us at 17. Mara faced the camera. Leah was looking at me. I had never noticed. Beneath the photograph was a sealed envelope with my name written in Leah's handwriting. Ethan. The paper had yellowed at the edges. On the back, in smaller letters, she had written, "If I lose my nerve again, make me give this to him." I sat on the floor with the envelope in my hands until the sun came through the branches. I did not open it. I wanted to open it, but she had not given it to me. Whatever was inside still belonged to her. I slipped it into my jacket and climbed down. Leah was standing at the bottom of the ladder. Her eyes dropped to the envelope. For several seconds, neither of us moved. "Where did you get that?" she asked. "Mara." Leah closed her eyes. "I'm going to kill her. She said you asked her to destroy it." "I did. She didn't. I can see that. I haven't opened it." Her eyes snapped back to mine. "Why not?" "Because it isn't mine unless you give it to me." The anger left her face so quickly it hurt to watch. She held out her hand. I gave her the envelope. She turned it over, running her thumb across the old seal. "I wrote this the night before graduation." "What stopped you?" "You got the Colorado scholarship that morning. Everyone was proud. I thought if I told you, you might stay." "You thought I'd give up college?"
No.
"I thought you might ask me to come with you." "And would you have?" She looked at the letter. "Yes." The word moved through me like a door opening onto a life I had never lived. "So you hid it," I said. "I gave it to Mara and told her to make me hand it over after graduation. Then Owen died. The air between us changed. Leah sat on the bottom rung of the ladder. "That night at the party I tried to tell you. You remember." I remembered more than I wanted to. Beside the lake, Leah had tried to speak. Then I saw a Boston acceptance packet she had hidden from me and assumed she wanted a future without us. We argued, and I refused to drive her home. Owen took my keys. He never came back. "I remember," I said. "You wouldn't look at me at the hospital. Your father wouldn't let me into the family room. The next week, he told me you needed a clean break from everything connected to that night. I thought that meant me." "My father said that?" She nodded. "So I asked Mara to burn the letter. I thought loving you after what happened was selfish."
He sat beside her.
"Leah, I never blamed you. You left without saying goodbye. I blamed myself." She looked at me, tears gathering but not falling. "I had been drinking, so Owen took the keys. I forgot to warn him that Miller's Curve flooded first. For years, I thought if I'd been less proud, he would have stayed." Leah pressed the envelope to her chest. "The police said the truck hydroplaned." "I know. But knowing isn't the same as forgiving yourself."
No.
We sat beneath the treehouse, surrounded by every version of us that had been too afraid to speak. Leah wiped her cheek. "I tried again, you know? To give me the letter? To tell you." "When?" "At the airport when you came home for Christmas sophomore year. You walked through the gate holding Rachel's hand. Rachel later became my fiancée. She left because I was always half present, as though part of me had never left Cedar Hollow." "Another time?" I asked. Leah laughed weakly. "Your welcome home barbecue after you moved back." I had an entire speech. "Then your father had chest pain, and you spent the night in the emergency room. I remember you stayed. I stayed because I loved you. You thanked me for being like a sister." Covered my face. "Oh God, that one took a while to recover from."
I'm sorry.
"You didn't know. I should have." She turned toward me. We were close enough that I could see the tiny gold flecks in her brown eyes. And now, there it was. Not a joke. Not a half sentence. A direct question. I could have ended 14 years of silence in that moment. A car door slammed in the driveway. Daniel Reyes came around the side of the house carrying champagne and a white folder. He was tall, polished, and smiling like a man arriving at the conclusion of a successful plan. "She said yes," he announced. My entire body went cold. Leah stood quickly. "Daniel." He lifted the bottle. "Chicago is happening." I backed away before either of them could explain. The envelope was still in Leah's hand. Her face shifted from shock to anger. "Ethan, wait. I've got lumber to pick up. Please don't do this again. But I was already walking toward my truck, proving that a person could understand his worst habit perfectly and still surrender to it. I drove 3 miles before Mara called. You absolute idiot, she said without greeting. I'm working. Daniel is engaged to a man named Victor. I pulled onto the shoulder so hard gravel hit the wheel wells. What? He and Leah are not dating. They have never dated. They are business partners. The white folder is a partnership agreement. Chicago is an expansion, not a proposal. I stared through the windshield. Mara continued, do you know how many times Leah has tried to correct that assumption?
No.
4. I counted. Once at Thanksgiving, but your dad dropped the turkey. Once at the hardware store, but you took a call. Once at the diner, but you congratulated her before she finished the sentence. And once yesterday in the treehouse, when you answered Portland. My hand tightened around the phone. How do you know about Portland? Luke's cousin is the project manager. Small town, remember? Were you planning to tell us from the airport? It's 6 months. It's running. It's the biggest contract I've ever had. Then why do you sound miserable every time you say it? I ended the call because I had no answer that did not expose me. When I returned, Daniel was gone. Leah was in the gazebo, measuring the damaged roof supports. I know Daniel is engaged, I said. To Victor, she replied without looking up. They've been together 6 years. You met him at the company picnic. I thought Victor was his brother. You thought what was convenient. The accuracy of it stung.
I'm sorry.
Are you? Yes. She dropped the tape measure. Then tell me what you were going to say before Daniel arrived. I took a breath. My phone vibrated. This time I did not look at it. I heard you and Mara in the sunroom, I said. Leah went still. I heard everything. Color rose from her throat to her face. You let me stand there and hand you iced tea. You worked beside me all morning. You listened to me make a fool of myself. You didn't. I asked you if people joke because they're trying to say something. You pretended not to understand. I was scared. Of what? Of being wrong. Of hearing something that was true once but isn't true now. Of becoming the reason you turned down Chicago and then resenting me. Of changing the 3 of us. Of Owen. Pick one. Leah's expression hardened. You don't get to use Owen every time you choose silence. I know. No, you know the sentence. That's different. She picked up the tape measure, but her hands were shaking. What do you want me to say? I asked. The truth would be new. I stepped closer. The truth is I have loved you for years. Her eyes closed. I loved you in high school at the lake and at the hospital even when I couldn't look at you. I loved you from Colorado and every city I used as distance. I loved you when I came home, and I kept waiting for a safe moment that never existed. Leah opened her eyes, but there was no relief in them. You don't get to give me that speech because you overheard mine. It's not because I overheard you. Then why now? Because you're leaving. She flinched. I heard my mistake the moment the words left me. She nodded slowly. Exactly. That's not what I meant. It's what you said. You can love me in private for 14 years, but you only speak when I'm about to become unavailable. I'm trying to stop you from walking away. I am not a train you catch at the last second, Ethan. I know. Do you? Because I have built a career here. I have stayed through your father's heart scare, Mara's broken engagement, my mother's move, and every winter storm that knocked a branch through one of our roofs. Chicago is not me abandoning you. It is an opportunity one earned. I'm proud of you. Then don't turn my leaving into proof that you finally had to act. She took the sealed letter and pressed it into my hand. You can read it now, she said. That girl waited for you. I won't. She walked into her house and closed the back door. I opened the letter alone in the unfinished gazebo. The letter said I made ordinary days worth remembering. Leah wanted to leave Cedar Hollow too, but believed leaving did not have to mean losing each other. She feared I saw her like the oak tree or cracked sidewalk, so familiar I had stopped noticing. The last line was simple. If you feel even a little of this, knock 3 times tonight. I sat there until dark. 14 years earlier, while packing for college, I had heard 3 knocks. Angry with Leah about Boston, I put on headphones and ignored them. The next day was the party. I had not merely missed her confession. I had consciously refused to hear it. That realization hurt more than every accident of timing we had blamed. My father found me in the gazebo after 9. Frank Cole moved slowly now, his left knee stiff from decades of carpentry. He looked at the letter in my hand and seemed to understand. "Leah's?" he asked. I nodded. He sat beside me. "I owe her an apology. She told me what you said after Owen died." His face folded inward. "I was out of my mind. You told her I needed a clean break. I told everyone that. I wanted the whole town to stop bringing casseroles and pity into the house. She came every day, sat on the porch and asked if she could see you. I thought she was keeping you tied to the night. So you sent her away. I thought I was protecting my surviving son." The words were not cruel. That made them worse. "Did you know she loved me?" "Everybody knew except you." I laughed once, without humor. Frank looked toward Leah's dark kitchen window. "Your brother knew too. Night he died. He told me he was taking her home because you two had finally managed to make being in love look like a fistfight." My breath caught. "He said that." He said, "They'll figure it out after Ethan gets over himself." My father's eyes shone. Owen was wrong about the timeline. I had treated Owen's death like a commandment against risk. Yet on his last night, he had expected me to be braver. Frank touched the letter. "Don't ask that woman to stay if staying makes her smaller." "I won't. But don't leave just because leaving lets you avoid an answer." That night, I called the Portland project manager. I asked whether my company could fabricate the millwork in Virginia, partner with a Portland crew, and travel only for installation. After a tense negotiation, we agreed on 2 weeks there at the start and 1 week each month after that. The job became growth instead of escape. I wanted to tell Leah. I stopped because she had asked for space. A grand gesture made after rejection would only prove her point. For the next 3 days, we worked on the wedding without speaking beyond what the job required. Beam is level. Move the ladder. City inspector arrives at 2. Every word sounded like a door shutting. Mara tried to intervene. Leah stopped her. "No more translating us," she said. "He knows how to use words." Luke arrived each evening with food. He and Mara disagreed openly, apologized quickly, and never treated love as a puzzle. Watching them was uncomfortable in a way I deserved. On Friday, a storm warning appeared for the wedding weekend. Mara stood in the yard, staring at the weather radar on her phone. I refused to believe in clouds. "You're a nurse," Luke said. "You believe in science." "Not this week." Leah adjusted the canopy design. I reinforced the gazebo roof. We worked side by side for 10 hours, communicating through measurements and glances. At sunset, she climbed into the treehouse to check the window braces. I followed with a toolbox. She found the old photograph sitting on the shelf where I had placed it. "You kept this," she said. "I noticed how you were looking at me." I was 17. I looked at everyone dramatically. "You're looking at Mara like she stole your lunch." She probably did. Despite herself, Leah smiled. I set down the toolbox. "I renegotiated Portland." Her smile vanished. "You didn't have to do that." "I know. That's why I'm telling you. I didn't do it to make you stay. I did it because I realized I accepted 6 months away without even asking whether there was another way. Running had become automatic. What did they agree to? I explained the schedule. "That's a better business model," she said after a moment. "You can keep the fabrication work local and build a national client list." "Exactly." She looked surprised. "You thought beyond the romantic gesture. I'm trying a new thing called adulthood." Her mouth softened, but she did not step closer. "What about Chicago?" I asked. "I'm flying there Monday for the final meeting." "Do you want the partnership?" "I want the work. I want the authority to choose projects. I don't want to live in Chicago full-time." "Can you negotiate?" "Daniel thinks so. The firm wants my name on the expansion because most of the preservation contracts are mine. I was so busy assuming I had to choose between my career and this town that I never asked them to choose too. Maybe we're both learning. Maybe. The storm arrived early. Just after midnight, wind tore the canopy loose. I ran into the rain as Leah rushed from her porch. The temporary roof over the gazebo had folded inward. One support post leaned toward the tables we had already stacked beneath it. "We need to release the canvas before it pulls the frame down," she shouted. I grabbed a ladder. "Hold it steady. Ethan, lightning. I'll be 30 seconds. You said that when we were 16 and fell off Mara's roof. Then hold it better this time." She did. Rain blinded me as I climbed. I cut the first tie, then the second. A gust caught the canvas and snapped it like a sail. The ladder shifted. Leah threw her weight against it. "Get down." I reached for the final strap. The metal frame jerked, and one corner swung toward her. I jumped from the third rung, hit the ground, and pulled her backward as the frame crashed where she had been standing. For one breath, we were tangled together in the mud. "You could have been hurt," I said. "So could you. I told you to hold the ladder. And I told you to get down." We were both shouting because fear had nowhere else to go. Leah shoved wet hair from her face. "This is what you do. You decide the risk is yours. Then you act like everyone else should be grateful." I was trying to save the structure. "I don't care about the structure." The words cut through the rain. She gripped the front of my jacket. "I care about you, you impossible man. That is the problem. It has always been the problem." I covered her hands with mine. "Then let me care about you too." "You do." Quietly, from a safe distance. "Not anymore." Lightning flashed beyond the houses. "I'm not asking you to stay," I said. "I'm asking for the chance to love you while you decide where your life goes. Chicago, Cedar Hollow, both. I won't choose for you. But I want mornings in your kitchen, arguments over floor plans, and a real life instead of another one I imagine after you're gone." Leah's eyes filled with tears that disappeared into the rain. "You make it sound simple," she whispered. "It isn't. I'll be in Portland 2 weeks. You may be in Chicago for months. We've hurt each other by waiting. You may not trust me yet." "I don't." "Then don't. Not all at once. Let me earn it." The back door opened, and Mara appeared in a robe beneath a yellow raincoat. "Are you two confessing in a lightning storm?" she yelled. "Because I support the emotional breakthrough, but I would prefer my maid of honor and best man alive." Leah laughed through her tears. I had loved that laugh for half my life. I did not kiss her. Not then. Adrenaline would have made it a shortcut. We spent the next hour securing the yard with Mara and Luke. At 3 in the morning, Leah and I stood beneath my porch roof, soaked and exhausted. "Tomorrow," she said. "After the wedding, knock 3 times." My heart stopped. "Are you sure?" "No," she held my gaze. "But I'm done waiting to be sure before I'm honest." The wedding morning arrived bright and cool, as if the storm had exhausted every cloud in Virginia. The gazebo survived. Leah redesigned the layout before breakfast, Daniel brought extra fabric, and my crew rebuilt the damaged frame. The crisis became part of the beauty. Mara walked down the aisle at 4, holding her father's arm and trying not to cry until she saw Luke. Then she gave up and cried openly. I stood beside Luke. Leah stood across from me in a deep green dress, holding Mara's bouquet while the vows were exchanged. During the ceremony, Leah looked at me only once. It was enough. At the reception, my father apologized to Leah for sending her away after Owen died. She hugged him. "She forgave me faster than I deserved," he said. "She does that," I replied. "It's one of the things I'm trying not to take advantage of anymore." Daniel found me near the cake table. "For the record," he said, "Victor is my fiancé." "I know. And Leah has been in love with you since before she learned how to draft a straight line." "I know that too." "Good. I'm tired of being cast as the handsome obstacle." I laughed. "You are very humble. Also, for the record, the Chicago arrangement is negotiable." She could lead the expansion from here after a 3-month launch. She told me, "Then don't mess it up." That seems to be today's theme. He looked toward Leah. She does not need a reason to shrink her life. She needs someone who can stand beside it. I agree. The reception ended after 10. Luke and Mara left beneath sparklers, and the yard slowly emptied. Leah disappeared into her house. I waited. I wanted to run after her, but honoring her request was not the same as hiding. At 11, I walked to the old fence between our yards. 3 boards had been replaced over the years, but the center post was original. I raised my hand. Knock, knock, knock. Her porch light turned on. Leah opened the back door wearing jeans, a cream sweater, and no shoes. She crossed the grass slowly, stopping on the other side of the fence. "You heard it this time," she said. "I was listening." She unlatched the small gate our fathers had built when we were children. Neither of us stepped through. "I talked to Daniel," she said. "I'm going to Chicago for 3 months. After that, I can lead the preservation division from Cedar Hollow with travel." "That sounds like what you wanted." "It is."
I'm glad.
She searched my face, perhaps waiting for disappointment. I gave her none. "I read the letter again," I said. "The last line asked me to knock if I felt even a little of what you felt. And I felt all of it. I was just too young, angry, and frightened to answer." "You're not young anymore." That was cruel. It was accurate. I smiled. "I'm still frightened. So am I. I love you, Leah. Not because you're leaving. Not because I overheard you. Not because Mara kept a letter she should have burned. I love the woman standing here now, the one who earned Chicago, rebuilt a wedding in 6 hours, and told me she did not trust me yet instead of offering easy forgiveness." Her eyes shone. "I can't promise distance won't be hard," I continued. "I can promise I won't disappear into work when it is. I won't congratulate you for a relationship you're not in. I won't treat silence like nobility. And when I am afraid, I will tell you before fear starts making decisions." Leah opened the gate. "I have conditions," she said. "Of course you do. No pretending this never happened if we get uncomfortable." "Agreed." "No making Mara our translator." "Strongly agreed." "No sacrificing work and secretly blaming each other later." "Agreed." "And no calling me your sister ever again. I would like that erased from the historical record." She stepped into my yard. "What are your conditions?" she asked. "Just one." "What?" "If you want something, knock. Don't wait 14 years." Leah looked at me for a long moment. Then she lifted her hand and tapped 3 times against my chest. I kissed her. The kiss was slow and careful. It felt less like discovery than finally entering a room we had both stood outside. When we separated, she rested her forehead against mine. "I tried to tell you so many times," she whispered. "I know. You ignored me. I know. I'm going to bring that up for a while." "You should." She smiled. "Good answer." 3 months apart did not become a montage of perfect phone calls. It was work. In Chicago, Leah and I still made mistakes. I missed a video dinner because of work. She canceled a visit for a deadline. Instead of hiding behind apologies, we said what hurt and made new plans. We learned that honesty was not one grand confession. It was 100 small interruptions to the habits that had kept us apart. Portland led to another theater contract, and Leah redesigned my shop workflow from Chicago. Her color-coded schedule saved us 9 days. Mara returned from her honeymoon and discovered that her 2 best friends had become unbearable. "You hold hands in hardware stores," she complained. "You cried because Luke packed you a sandwich," Leah replied. "That was marriage. This is public nuisance." The following spring, we restored Cedar Hollow's abandoned train depot together. It became the home of her preservation division and the first project bearing both our names. On the day the depot reopened, Mara stood between us beneath the old station clock. "I would like credit," she said. "For what?" I asked. "For the relationship." "You eavesdropped on a private confession," Leah said. "No, he eavesdropped." I simply spoke loudly near a man wearing ear protection that was not turned on.
Is there here?
You knew. Mara smiled. Leah's mouth fell open. You told me he couldn't hear us. I said he probably couldn't hear us. That was not an accident? I asked. Mara lifted one shoulder. I had 12 days until my wedding, a flooded venue, and 2 emotionally constipated best friends. I optimized. Leah looked outraged for 3 full seconds before she started laughing. The moment that changed everything had not been entirely accidental. Mara had pushed Leah toward the truth and given fate a little help. For once, I was grateful someone had refused to let me hide. A year later, Leah and I married beneath the same oak. Mara officiated, claiming no one had done more unpaid labor for the relationship. Before Leah walked toward me, she stopped beside the old fence and knocked 3 times. I answered by knocking 3 times against the wooden arch I had built for us. After the vows, my father gave me Owen's old pocketknife. Leah and I climbed to the treehouse and found the initials I had carved as a teenager. E.L. She handed me the knife. You missed something, she said. I carved the heart. Then we sat by the open window, listening to music drift from Mara's yard, our shoulders touching the way they had on the latter years before. I still can't believe you heard me, Leah said. I heard you long before that. She turned to me. I just didn't know listening required an answer. Below us, Mara called that the cake was being served. Leah stood and held out her hand. Coming? I took it. For most of my life, I thought love was safest when it remained unspoken, protected from bad timing, grief, distance, and the possibility of rejection. I was wrong. Silence did not preserve what we had. It nearly starved it. What saved us was not that Leah confessed, or that I finally did. It was that we stopped treating fear as evidence that we should wait. Some people enter your life once. Others grow beside you so quietly that you mistake their presence for permanence. But no one, not even the person who has loved you since 17, should have to live forever inside a feeling you are too afraid to name. So if this story reminded you of someone whose words you ignored, or words of your own you keep postponing, share your thoughts below. Would you risk a lifelong friendship for the chance at lasting love? Sometimes the bravest answer is simply 3 knocks, followed by the courage to stay and listen.